It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's Expresso right here on SABC3. Well, we all stress, and while some workplace stress is normal, excessive stress can interfere with your performance and productivity. Countless studies show that excessive stress can cause real physical symptoms like headaches, increased blood pressure, and trouble sleeping. And that's not to mention its role in mood disorders like anxiety or depression.
So yeah, let's help us unpack this quite, I think, complex topic of mental health and stress in the workplace. Please welcome our trusted multimedia health specialist and very good friend, Dr. Darren Green, who is joined by occupational therapist and founder of Work Mind Matters, Alison Hallett. And later we'll have psychologist Anna Donald and physiotherapist Caryn Stretton also demonstrating some stress-relieving techniques, because we live in our bodies. And often stress can exhibit in our bodies. Alison, Doc, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I know you have been on the Expresso studio floor before, but yes, not in this particular role. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. We live at work. We really do. And as much as you want to say that we live at home and we breathe outside of work, that shouldn't be the case. We should be able to be well-adjusted, normal, healthy individuals in the workplace, because that's where we want to be productive.
Correct.
Are you laughing because it's a ridiculous notion?
I'm smiling.
That's a good stress reliever. Maybe we start at the beginning, guys. What is the main cause, or some of the main causes of stress at the workplace?
Yeah, so per definition, stress is...
work. Work is stress.
Yeah, and it's a circumstance that demands a change or a response from you in terms of your physical response, your emotional response, obviously, and your psychological or even your thought responses. So stress is not always a bad thing. It often promotes a change in activity.
Elevates us.
And we are designed primarily as a species to experience stress, to alert us, to survive, and to perceive threats that threaten our survival, especially in acutely stressful situations. So physiologically, we have an array of responses in the human body that gear us to survive. The problem is when you don't know how to equip yourself with good tools in dealing with this, and the chronic effect, obviously, of chronic stresses, and that's where the health, obviously, the decline then starts. Yeah.
Absolutely. Talking about the health decline, what are some of the effects of stress on the human body, and can they bring about serious health complications?
Yes, I think stress affects all our systems at the end of the day. So when we have a physiological response, to when you face a stressor, then you automatically, your body goes into, as the doctor was saying, a high alert. But the problem is when you're living in that state of high alert, your various systems are affected, your immune system, your endocrine system, which is all your hormones, where it starts to play havoc with adrenal glands and all those things. So again, the whole stress
to the point of adrenal failure. You literally can.
Well, that's the thing. It's a combination of your head and your body, and you can't separate the two.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's just, as we're having this conversation, I can feel my heart rate, my pulse racing, which is purely a physical response to us talking. But there's the added component of being on live TV.
Absolutely.
And the ridiculous thing is we actually now love it. We love being on live TV. We love the elevated stress because the adrenaline surge, it's something that we get a huge... But we've had a couple of years to kind of get used to it. But there are days where your productivity and we're talking about a workplace where ultimately you can't have a fight or flight response every time the pressure's on within a workspace. Do you think it's reached the level of needing to have policies in place within stress management, partly because of the lack of productivity, yes, but also because of the impact, the health impact on South Africans, the workforce?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. So you can look at the effects of stress in terms of absenteeism. You can look at it in terms of mental health and depression in the workplace and mental health illness. If you look at that, companies are forced to make a change. I mean, you've heard of the 3-day week, for example. You've heard of people going on leave whenever they need to, as long as their parameters are in place for their productivity. Your thoughts?
I think policies are good, but I also think it's a bit of a tick that box, and we've got a policy in place so everything is okay. I think actually what it comes down to is having authentic conversations about mental health. And that is culture. It's about actually saying, let's talk about this so that people actually feel comfortable with the topic and are able to interact with their managers, with their senior leaders, because it's an open topic of conversation in the workplace.
Sure. Well, we are talking stress in the workplace and how commonplace it's been for us. But of course, that doesn't make it a good thing. It just means we've really learned to deal with a potentially negative situation. Coming up after this, we're going to be talking about mindfulness. And this is by Anna Donald, who is an internationally trained psychologist, coach, and facilitator. So we'll chat more on that after this.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's Expresso right here on SABC3. We are continuing with our health segment this morning, and we're joined by Anna Donald, who is an internationally trained psychologist, coach, and facilitator. Now, she has spent the last 4 years developing mindfulness-based programs for organizations, and this morning she will demonstrate to us the importance of mindfulness at the office. And of course, we're talking about stress and how to ultimately eliminate it from our lives. Also, our favorite doctor, Darren, is still with us on the couch. Anna, welcome to the show.
Thank you, thank you.
Anna, mindfulness is quite hot right now.
Yeah.
It's we were joking about the amount of apps that are available to me, the idea that this is something that is being used in the workplace is a very positive sign that companies are actually designing mindfulness programs within their company. What is mindfulness? If you had to break it down, if you had to write the blurb for an app on a download site, how would you describe mindfulness?
So I would say it's often described as a technique, but I would actually say that mindfulness is more a way of being in the world. So one could simply say mindfulness is to be here now.
Okay.
Or as John Kabat-Zinn beautifully puts it, mindfulness is a particular way of paying attention on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally.
Sure, that's powerful. What is the purpose and the power of practicing mindfulness every day? Why is it so important?
It's so important because it gives us the capacity to choose how we relate to our experience and therefore craft skillfully our responses to life, as opposed to just living reactively or on autopilot. So we actually get to decide, because we're aware of what's going on, we get to decide how we want to respond and how we want to relate to people, ourselves, to what's going on, to our stress. So you can begin to imagine how that opens up a kind of liberated way of being.
Yeah.
Creates almost creates space and time between these events. I think you've often spoken about stress being having to focus on too many things at the same time and a lack of control over those. In your personal experience, as the guy who juggles about 50,000 balls at the same time, but still manages to come into the moment, every time we put these massive, big concepts on you and you're able to kind of, I don't want to say dumb it down, but maybe sometimes dumb it down for us, but how do you apply mindfulness with your medical understanding? How useful, how helpful can it be?
Yeah, I think, firstly, understanding that a thought is something that moves through you and doesn't define you completely. Our perceptions of thoughts often is that we are absolutely held captive by the thought. And a thought is a very natural thing that moves through your mind.
Who's thinking that thought?
I think a thought of worry, a thought of questioning, for example. But often, I think one of the big things is to realize that a thought is not a permanent thing. It's something that you can choose to, when you want to listen to it, when you want not listen to it, but address it and face it, instead of obviously letting it define completely who you are at that moment. A simple example would be, for example, being in front of a camera, having to talk right now. The thought of 15 million people watching could really put you under pressure, compared to just actually engaging in the moment. Here we are with a conversation on the couch. Four of us having a conversation where you can then actually get into a relaxed physiological state and actually, have a meaningful conversation.
So what are some of the techniques that you can kind of implement to teach yourself how to go about being more mindful and more present in the moment?
Yeah, I think you'd like to share some of those, hey?
Sure.
Practice as well.
So I'm going to invite you to practice with me. All
Great.
3 of us or 4 of us will practice together. This practice is divided into 3 sections. And so you can use 1, 2, all 3. And viewers at their desks can do this. So I'm going to invite you to take a mindful posture, which is feet on the floor and upright back, hands wherever they feel comfortable. And the idea with this posture is really about creating a stable attention. So we like to create a kind of dignified and comfortable posture. That's a beautiful way of thinking about it. Alert and relaxed. Exactly, dignified, you're upright. You're not creating tension by being, but you're relaxed and alert. Yes. So that's the best way. And I'm going to ask you to close your eyes or mostly close them, whatever feels more comfortable. This is for no woo-woo reason. It's simply because our visual input is very powerful, so it just allows us to focus our attention effectively. So, beginning by taking a deep breath and inviting ourselves into this present moment. I'm going to ask you now to become aware of the sounds around you. So taking the attention to the sense of hearing, just noticing whatever is arising in that field of experience. Noticing sounds inside the space. Noticing sounds further away. Noticing how some sounds are continuous, some start and stop. Noticing how sounds arise out of and fall away again into silence. And the invitation.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. You're live with Expresso. I think you can probably pick up that even the tone of my voice has dramatically shifted. The rhythm of my voice, the rhythm of my mind is different. We've been demonstrating just before the break the importance of mindfulness. In fact, going through a mindfulness exercise ourselves. Thank you so much to Anna for taking us through. That was pretty cool.
It was. I feel so much better.
I really, really do feel great. But I think this really does bring into focus that our minds and our bodies are all attached. And when we feel physical stress in the workplace, it does manifest physically, and it's a two-way street. And now we've invited physiotherapist Caryn Stretton into studio to show us some techniques on how to maintain good posture, on how to eliminate tension from our body at work. And we just saw that one of the first steps to mindfulness was adjusting our posture. You look so comfy. You look so comfy.
I'm so comfy.
I mean, you are rolling now. This is how every workplace should really look. This is awesome.
Caryn, welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you.
So research has shown that there is a link between bad posture and stress in the workplace. Seeing as though you've brought along a few things to demonstrate.
Pretty cool little tricks here, yeah.
What is the correct way that one should be sitting at your desk?
Absolutely. So it's a very real thing in terms of the link between stress, posture, your cortisol levels.
Yeah.
What we've seen as physiotherapists when one walks into a practice is that often they would come with a shoulder injury or lower back pain, but a lot of the time it's not from the CrossFit or from the running that they're doing. It's actually from the 8 hours that they're sitting at their desk.
Lifestyle.
So we try to give guidance, optimally it would be great if we all had a fully adjustable chair that we could get each other into the correct positions at our desk. But just some key notes in terms of seated posture. A lot of the time, people want to get themselves as low as they can to sit on the floor.
Yeah.
Now, what you're doing when you put your feet flat on the floor, but you are actually too low for your desk, is you're then going to hunch up your thoracic spine in order to get to your keyboard.
Yeah.
So the first cue I would try and give any office worker is, if you do have an adjustable gas height, get yourself rather in line with the actual desk, as opposed to feet being on the floor, and then one can put some books blocks or a footrest under the feet if you are uncomfortable with that. The next thing that we see is that people often have papers in front of them. Their keyboard is so far away that even if they have a good adjustable backrest, like with this chair, they end up leaning forward to get to the keyboard. Try and get everything as square as possible so that the body is in neutral. Use the chair, exactly. So use the chair into the backrest, get your mouse at a nice angle, a square angle. Adjustable laptop raisers are great because they actually get the screen to a nice height. Laptops were for airports or a quick little follow-up at home, but now we work off them, 90% of the day. So if you can find a file or something to just pop that laptop up so that the neck pain and the cervical spine is not at a downward angle for most of the day.
And it's worth investing in once, because the repercussions, trust me, if you've gone to a physio 12 times on the trot to try and address these issues after the fact, you're going to know all about that. I think so much of, I mean, we've heard about the links to a myriad of different health, not just in terms of the structure of our body, but sitting down for so long, the lack of circulation, all of these things play a role. How long is too long? How often should we be getting up? And what should we do when we get up?
Yes. So we try to recommend 30-minute stints at your computer. Obviously, when you're so enthralled with your sort of workload
Get that report done.
it's very
Get
tough.
it out, man. Yeah.
But we try to recommend that just set an alarm, have an app on your computer. There's many sort of options out there. Try to have something that reminds you to get up. The latest craze, and it's slowly filtering into South Africa, is sit-to-work stations. So that would mean that every 30 minutes, maybe 40, I would actually stand and work for a little while.
Oh, wow.
So this is an adjustable desk that can go up to different levels. And then it doesn't take you away from your workspace, but you can actually then stand. Again, posture is key. A lot of the time, us physios are then seeing hip problems because people are standing incorrectly. So try to be mindful of the link between your standing posture and your sitting posture. But just to have that adjustability and balance, try get up every 30 minutes, grab some coffee, grab some water, or if you have the benefit of a standing desk, use
Utilize that.
Because I was going to ask you that. We've seen the rise of the standing desk, and naturally, by the fact that you've got one here, it's good for you then.
It's brilliant.
Okay.
So there's regulation, in other countries where these have to be implemented into corporates. Again, as we were saying earlier, if you can invest in it, it really is the greatest investment for your stress, for your health. We see when we go into these beautiful office spaces that often the corporates have spent on the canteens, the pause rooms, the sort of dynamics around the workspace, but the biggest investment should be where you are actually seated. So if one can invest in something like a standing desk, there's many options, and more so coming into South Africa recently.
If you could pass advice onto companies, what is the best investment? What is the most useful piece of what you've discussed here today? What do you think is the most important from a physio's perspective?
As a physio, we would always go back to the chair. It is where one is going to be for 90% of the day. So standing desks are great, but not everyone will remember to use them or perhaps enjoy using them. But if they can invest in a chair...
foosball table.
No.
Really?
We often say chairs with beer dispensers or wine dispensers would be great.
For a Friday.
Exactly.
Okay, Friday after 3 o'clock
But
in the afternoon.
try to get a ergonomically adjustable chair.
Okay, and I mean, you have a responsibility as an employee as well to look after yourself. The deadline, yes, is important, but if you're out of work for days because you're too sore to work, that's going to knock the productivity just as much. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you.
Brought some cool stuff.
Thank
Brought some
you.
really cool stuff.
Thanks, guys.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. You're live with Expresso. Feeling very mindful. I'm feeling very in my body, in my mind, and feeling very de-stressed. And we've had an amazing panel of incredible people. I want to say headed up by our doctor, but you're one of an incredible team here today. So thank you so much, guys.
Amazing.
For joining us. We have been looking at stress in the workplace And we do have tools. That in itself is de-stressing, knowing that there are ways that we can deal with this.
Absolutely. Let's just recap, of course, how important is health, mental health, a stress-free environment, especially when it comes to the workplace, where we spend the majority of our day.
Yeah. Doc, do you want to weigh?
Yes, I think the importance of having a mental health break day in your week. The 4-day week, for example, has become quite contentious.
Yeah.
Lots of topics around that, some leading companies. To get to a place where you are innovative and creative and become a good problem solver, you need to have a few basics in place. And that involves your drivers of brain performance being things like exercise, good nutrition, sleep, and then, of course, the mindfulness that we spoke about and silencing your mind. Those are the basics that need to be in check. So that mental health day is something that we need to fight for.
And as a sick day.
If I was your boss, yes.
Yeah. I actually read about a company in Australia that incorporates a 4-day work week, and apparently productivity has shot through the roof because people give their all to those 4 days because they've had that one extra day. I think it's a Wednesday that they get off, and it's absolutely incredible.
I'll raise you one. Let's make it a 3.
Yes.
Come on, let's see how productive we can make this company in this country. Alison, I'm going to quickly move to you. Work Mind Matters, a conference where all of you are going to be obviously presenting your perspective. What is that all about, and how can we get involved? Because I want more of this.
Okay, well, the Work Mind Matters conference is our first, and it's on Friday this week, and at the Century City Conference Centre. So really it is about getting business leaders and managers, anyone who's managing people, to the conference to start this conversation, to have authentic conversations about mental health in the workplace. Because it really is an issue that is growing and that needs to be addressed. And we have amazing topics. We have 35 speakers who are on various panels. It's very conversational. We're looking at stigma. We're looking at support in the workplace. We're looking even at financial health of your business. How does it impact on the financial health of your business?
Yeah.
How do we manage the legal aspects around getting people back to work who have, maybe suffered or experienced a mental health condition where they've been booked off for a while? And we have a keynote speaker coming from the UK. He's worked with the Royal Foundation. He's worked at 10 Downing Street, so he has great input.
Knows pressure. Yeah.
So I think it's a really valuable conference for anyone managing people.
Is this specifically for leaders within the workplace?
Yes, leaders and managers. We've targeted business leaders because we feel that if we go to the top,
if we start there,
that is where it can filter down. It's all very well working with employees, but if the employer is engaged, then it will actually make a massive difference, and we can start to create the healthier, happier work environment that we're hoping to create through this.
Congratulations! Yeah, good luck.
Anna, will you be giving us more of those mindfulness techniques that just completely change the trajectory of the show?
Yes, indeed. I'll be starting the day
Wonderful.
with a practice, and so really looking forward to that.
Maybe if we can close up with the two of you, staying with our mindfulness and knowing how important that is. Just one tip. We've got just a few moments left with our viewers there, just to empower not just the leaders now, but the regular employee out there to de-stress in the workplace.
I would say learn to practice mindfulness. It's simple, but not easy, but it's very accessible. There are many apps out there. There are many companies that teach mindfulness, people that teach mindfulness, therapists, coaches. Learn to practice mindfulness, develop this capacity to be present and to make skillful choices in your life.
That's powerful.
Definitely. I think from a physical perspective, it's more so about just having a balance. Try and invest in the space that you're going to be in for 90% of the day. Take regular breaks. Try and balance, the stress with some endorphin activity, so some exercise and things, and just try to have a balance in terms of, yes, this is where I'm going to be for today, so let me see how I can make myself more comfortable. The moment you're more comfortable, the moment you're in less sort of pain, you're going to be more productive and ultimately less stressed.
take responsibility for yourself.
Exactly.
You can guide the way that your bosses think, but I hear what you're saying, a foosball table. Ultimately, a foosball table is
Keeps
what
on
we
coming
really...
back to that.
Guys, thank you so much. This has been just such an enriching discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Thanks.
Exactly. Well, the Work Mind Matters Conference will take place this Friday, the 6th of September, at the Century City Conference Centre in Cape Town. The conference will host a variety of excellent international and local speakers and experts who will focus on striving towards healthy workplace environments. And if you would really like to attend this conference, well, we have 3 tickets valued at 3,000 Rand each up for grabs. All you have to do is SMS the keyword WIN, your full name and city to 33728, and the first 3 names to be randomly drawn will be sent a conference ticket.
That just made me nervous all over again. But thank you for that. The competition is open. Entries will close at 12 midday today. So please get on it. If this, like us, has inspired you, please get on it. The competition is understandably limited to those in Cape Town, or at least who can get free SMSs. Do not apply. Terms and conditions can be found on expressoshow.com.